and we will watch the Preach video first, okay, guys?
Preacher, have you played Final Fantasy XIV? Are you keeping up with WoW news? And why is it that you're being asked to look at games that are in development months before they come out? There's a lot to talk about. Let's go. Before we get into the details, this video is brought to you by King's Bounty 2. More than happy to talk to these guys. King's Bounty was the first game that ever got me into open world RPGs. Back when I was a little boy on the Sega Mega Drive. That's the Genesis for Team USA. And King's Bounty 2 is launching this week, and we are going to be able to play it early, as well as show you some exciting upcoming footage of it. You're going to get to choose from 3 primary characters in this big narrative open world RPG.
Hyper, thanks for the 5 tier 2 subs. Thank you very much.
Come with their own classes. You're going to be able to talent spec them out, build their own armor sets, but more importantly, you're going to be able to travel the land of Nostria, where you're going to get to recruit an entire army to your side, and that army is what you're going to use in this turn-based combat that you'll find throughout the world. You can decide to have dogs,
I was excited.
archers. I know I had a huge amount of militia back in the day.
I'm not a turn-based game kind of guy.
Whatever it is, and whatever skills they have in order to defeat the enemy.
I just get bored
ahead
and
on
annoyed.
what is a good combination and a good mix, depending on what you might find.
Turn-based.
Not only that, you have a ton of narrative choices, which we fully expect from our RPGs these days.
I know that people love those games,
with the
but
dark
to
and
me, I'm
mysterious
just not
ones,
about
so
it.
maybe they'll help you out.
Yeah,
you can go with absolute brute force and put your big boots on and stamp all over the enemy, or you might be able to negotiate and work things out. Entirely up to you. And each of these narrative choices is going to play out in a completely different way, and I, for one, cannot wait to see how that works out. Do hit that link in the description to check out the game for yourselves.
Magic? Well,
Preacher, what has it been like since you stopped covering World of Warcraft? So weird, dudes. So weird. I have all these like habits that are built into my fingers that I can't get rid of. Like every morning I still check MMO Champion. I still check over on the WoW subreddit, see what's going on. I can't help it. Keeping up with the news, a lot of stuff.
Look at the thread, dude. Look at the thread that says the current streamer's trend to exit WoW is obviously partly hypocritical. Obviously partly. Yeah, that's great language there.
Keeping up with the news, a lot of stuff coming out, and as you can see, one of the reasons I stopped covering World of Warcraft is so much coverage of World of Warcraft now is entirely negative, and I don't want that in my life. I am more than happy to not have that in my life and just be like, oh, I've got to make a video on this now. Very cool. I liked what Belly did.
Complain about Covenants again.
The numbers and stuff was solid research. We
watched
did the same thing. You might remember we partnered with Radar.io to look into those things, and we saw the same thing and did not want to cover it like at all. We were like, okay, it's like falling off a hill. This is just not, and I don't want to make negative videos. I never want to do that. So yeah, it's
this obviously partly kind of does make sense.
What we were seeing. Only 10% of people are raiding.
In a way, I do
makes total
agree.
sense. Like the big effect of Shadowlands has been on the raiders. Like
there's a way this could be true.
People always get surprised by that stuff. Like, oh, well, you should stop making content for raiders. No, just stop driving the raiders out.
To a limited way, this is hyperbolic.
To get those things done. But cool to see they're doing some cosmetic stuff to hopefully entice people to stick around for a little bit longer.
Yeah. Oh wow.
The art team shouldn't interfere with the development side of whatever's coming in.
As I said, man, is like whenever you look at all the developers that are talking shit about the player base in Twitter and stuff, they're never the art people. You know why? Because the art people actually have to work. It's never the people on the art team. It's always the people on like the design team or something like that. Yeah, the art team is actually working.
Good to see what's going on there. Really hoping to see the actual staff and stuff tell us about the changes that are happening over there and if it's a better environment, that kind of thing. That's what I would love to see going forward. A few clarifications. Do I still play? I play for 2 hours on a Tuesday. It's my night out with the boys. That's what it is. That's probably going to come to an end soon. We did say 2 weeks originally when we formed my heroic team. That's all it is. Just a few guys from a number of mythic guilds. And so many guilds have collapsed now, actually. They don't even have a guild. But it's like a Tuesday beer night with the boys. It's just a laugh. Nobody needs any gear. We're like all gear capped. It's just a case of log in and play because we can all fit into there. That's that. And I should repeat, because so many people, especially during drama time, every time we appear on drama time, people are like, oh, I thought you weren't talking about World of Warcraft anymore. The reason we're not covering it is not just because of the lawsuit. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. It's a lot of other stuff that led to that point. So people still seem very confused on that topic. But no, that's the nature of the beast. I'll always be completely open and honest with you guys every single step of the way. What cool things have been happening? I try to do the same thing. It's like another world. I swear to God. So we have decided to I'll do what I want to do. Is I want to expose as many people to quality games as possible because I've been playing games since I was like 3 years old. And I was not a World of Warcraft only or Warcraft Blizzard guy. I wasn't. I fell into that like purely by coincidence, to be honest with you. Just happened to be the game I was playing at the time, and I loved World of Warcraft immensely.
Some guy in chat asked, "Is it just me, or did Preach get his hairline back after playing WoW? After stopping playing WoW?" Yes. It's crazy what quitting World of Warcraft can do to you. This is entirely because he stopped playing WoW. Isn't that insane?
I have like the fondest memories of it. But I've always been a multi-gamer, not a mono gamer, which is kind of a weird term.
I used to be a mono
having
gamer.
the freedom to
great.
go and just be like, that looks awesome. Let's play it. Let's do that. Let's do that. Has been super cool. But more importantly, and I put this out on Twitter, which got a ridiculous response from you guys, is I've been dealing with a lot of developers recently. So I have had to sign an NDA. I am helping out with the development of a game that is not due out till like March next year, something like that.
Damn.
I can't tell you any more about that because I am under NDA, but it's super cool that people are reaching out. It's like, can you take a look and see what you think? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I've been trying to do that for years. Let's do that. That's been super cool. But more importantly, I've been talking to a lot of devs, like, behind the scenes. And I've tried to draw attention to that as much as possible because the difference, and I cannot tell you, the absolute difference between my dealings with Blizzard and the dealings with these other developers has just been like ridiculous. Like, Blizzard always felt like we were the enemy. We were... Like,
it always would feel like Blizzard is like the government, and like the people want, they want a new road built, but the government just wants to, keep the money so they can have another champagne party with the donators again. And it's like, this is what it was like for so long. And it is weird to see other development teams. I think the first time that I noticed this was with New World. And the New World development team, like, we had a lot of like really bad feedback for New World, and they were like really happy and they wanted to hear everything about it because they just wanted to make the game better. And I was like, this is awesome. Okay, great. This is, and like also whenever, you get treated that way, like now I'm not going to act that crazy and get that mad because I feel like I've got a better, what's the word for it? I've got a better connection and like a better way to be heard. Like, I don't think I have to get as mad anymore. Does that make sense?
Angry and upset and just
no new one. Okay.
Wanted
feel
too much.
validated.
I remember you guys probably remember during the Najatar PTR, I put out an enormous post on the actual official forums. I was like, fine, we'll go to the official forums. I do know the devs watch my videos and stuff, but I'll go over here. I'm not expecting my ideas to make sense. Like, a lot of the things we've suggested have gone into the game, but not everything, obviously. Otherwise, Master Looter would still be in the game.
Yes.
But a big thing about RPG stuff, because I love RPGs. Absolutely love RPGs. My favorite one of all time is Divinity Original Sin 2. Crisp game. Go and play it. But
another
I was like, Najatar's such a cool opportunity for so many RPG things. And I spoke to somebody at BlizzCon about it, and they were like, yeah, it's not really the direction we're going. And then the next expansion is like, we're doing all this RPG stuff. And I was like, what? So weird. And it took like 5 or 6 years. I think it was 6 years before I ever spoke to somebody at Blizzard, which is fine. I don't expect to be spoken to by anybody at all. But it was like, the impression was like, the hand of God was approaching you. That's how it felt at the time. It was like the hand of God is approaching you. Flip to now, where last week we covered like 5 different games. And I know the YouTube views are down. That's okay, man. That's okay in my book. Like, I'm happy with what we're doing, and we're going to get better at it.
It's hard to transition and play another game. And I think that's one of the biggest weaknesses that, like, especially a lot of WoW content creators have. And this has been obvious for many creators, is that the moment that they move to another game, their viewers go from, like, especially, and this is like, with Preach, it's not as bad because he's partially like he's a personality. Like, if you're a competitive player for, let's say, Mythic Plus, why would anybody want to watch you play Valorant? Why would anybody want to watch you play Getting Over It? Why would anybody want to watch you play Fall Guys? There's no reason. So it's it's sad, but there it is. And those are the people that really lose the most, is the competitive players who don't really have much of a personality. They don't really have, they're not on that same like world-class level in these other games. So you ask yourself, like, every person, every reason that you're watching somebody, there's a point for that, right? There's a reason why you're watching someone. So you either watch someone, generally, there's like two reasons you watch somebody. You watch them because you like them, or you watch them because they're good at a game. Like, that's one or the other. Or because, like, they're going to turn around and you want to clip it and then use that for later on. But either way, I think those are the two different reasons. So if there's not one or the other, that person's stream will die. So if people watch you because you're good at a game, and then you play a game that you're not good at, why would people watch you? It's literally that simple.
I know most of my audience just cares about MMOs or like big fancy RPGs at best. That's fine. That's okay.
Yep.
We're going through a change right now. That's okay, man. That's all right. But in this world over here, my goal is to like expose as many people to things that I think are cool and I'm passionate about. Because, losing that passion for as long as I did about World of Warcraft is, like, rough, like, internally.
It sucks. It definitely does suck. Like, it felt that way to me, too, like, to not feel that way. And I also want to say, like, with me personally, right, people like whenever I am giving commentary on things, and they like my, like, just chatting type content, and they like videos where I'm just talking about stuff. Those are my most popular videos, and trying out new games and giving first impressions on things. That is what people like the most from me, and also my community events. So if I can play another game that allows me to hit those boxes, like Final Fantasy, for example, that game is going to be just as successful, or in WoW's case, right, with Final Fantasy, it's going to be even more successful than what it was before. Now, if you talk about playing, like, let's say Valorant or playing, like, CSGO, I'm sure some people would want to see me play a game like that. Absolutely. But that's not really why people watch me. They don't watch me to watch me, like, play video games seriously.
If I'm passionate about X and Y, I'm going to talk about X and Y. And hopefully pass that passion and maybe catch your eye over there.
Not long term. Yeah, exactly.
It's the things that I create. That makes me super,
it's a global
happy.
Elite. Yeah.
But in that time, I've been talking to these devs who are like, it's just... They care so much. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, of course they do.
Blizzard doesn't care. But the way they show that is just magnificent. Magnificent. And I can't use a better word for it. It's just getting involved, digging deep. When we find a problem, like, oh, yeah, dude. I can give you an example. We were playing Grime recently. And the devs were there. They were watching us play. And they knew they'd made a blunder. And it was coming up. So when you get to the very last boss of the game, like, it's all been building to here, and it's got super difficult platforming.
This seems like a good game.
It's really hard to get to the very last boss. They have a ladder. Up goes to... It's just literally a ladder in front of you, and above you is the last boss, and below the ladder is a checkpoint. So if the last boss kills you, you don't have to redo this ridiculously hard platforming section.
That's good.
But you can't see it.
That's really good.
Right? You can't see what's above you.
I've
you
never
can't
seen
see
this
what's
game
below
before.
you. So when you get there, you're like... which way shall I go? Up or down? So I went up, which meant the last boss. And I died, obviously. First time, last boss. And then that meant I had to redo the whole platform section. And the devs are like, yeah, I tried to warn you. And they did. They actually warned me before I got there. I was like, please go down the ladder. Because they knew they'd made such an elementary blunder in not really showing off what was there, that people would end up going to the last boss, getting their ass kicked, and have to redo this entire section, which wasn't the intention. They gave you a checkpoint, but you just couldn't see it. So it was one of those
Dark
things...
Souls 2 has some of those. Like Sir Alone, for example, I think it's one of the worst ones, where it just takes forever just to get back to the boss. That is one of the most frustrating types of gameplay that you can ever imagine.
Where they were like, oh, we really fucked that up. Oh, well, we're going to sort that out next time. And we're going to make sure we don't do that again in the future. I took it with like, it was a fucking stupid mistake, man, whatever. What it wasn't is like dead silence, like that's what I felt like sometimes with Blizz. It's like, hey, you kind of fucked up like benthic gems, right? Remember I asked Ian about it? And I got to say,
it was bad.
I know a lot of people hate Ian. I don't. Ian was always awesome with me, as was Josh and Morgan Day. When I spoke to these guys, they have that passion, they have that love. We don't always agree, but like I don't have any hatred there. I just want to put that out because people believe that I hate them, and I'm like, I don't hate them at all. Like, I don't feel that way whatsoever. But they were like, yeah, we're gonna, the next game we're totally gonna.
It's a big team.
We might even patch something in to try and sort that out because it's a stupid thing. And they did it earlier as well with a quest that the wording was slightly off, so it led you.
Well, the thing is with the benthic gear, for example, is like they could have fixed it by just fixing it during the patch. I think Blizzard, like, there's no reason to, if you release a system and the system is bad, That's not like, oh, well, we'll do another system next patch. Like, no, like, I don't want to have to play through that patch that's bad. Like, why are we having to do this? I don't understand it. And that's one of the big differences to me that I've noticed, is that I've just felt like my tolerance for that kind of weird behavior and that kind of bullshit just immediately just goes down so much now. It was only bad for the top 1%. Was it? I mean, I feel like everybody wanted to get the benthic gear that was high level, right? I mean, I think that at least like everybody that I know wanted to. Like, this is the thing that yeah, this is a WoW player. I think this is a WoW player fallacy. That any time that somebody talks about trying to obtain something that makes their character better, it is assumed that the process of that is only appealing to the top 1%, which is not true. It's such a weird assumption to make that, oh, only the top 1% of players care about getting better at the game. Or making their character better. It's like the top, like, half of the player base that cares about that. I'd say the majority of the player base care about that. The top 1% argument is ridiculous.
Completely the wrong direction. They're like, yeah, you know, people keep getting stuck here. We're gonna fix it. You know, what the fucking
everybody wants to get better.
But like open and chit chatty about it and talking to us afterwards and being like, let's work on a project in the future. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do that.
That's cool.
Let's make that happen. And the same again happened with the Forgotten City, where they were like, yeah, you know, we could have done X and Y better. We could do this better. And we're working on it and we can't wait. But, you know, we love to see how people are playing. And I think that was a big difference to the fact that I loved World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And
oh, wow.
Never really felt that way back. Which is just, I'm not shitting on Blizzard. I'm just saying it's a different world. Like, being in this different world is crazy. It's really crazy. And it's so awesome to see, like, this fire to like move forward and get things done.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way a lot of companies should look at things. I saw a comment in chat that said Peekaboo doesn't have good conduits and he's still an AWC player. Number one, AWC is played on a PTR that everybody has the same gear, number one. Number two, just because that's the case, like, I don't understand, like, yeah, it's on tournament realm, number one. Also, what does that matter? It's not that you can't accomplish things without the best gear. Of course you can succeed with the best gear. Absolutely you can succeed without the best gear. However, that doesn't mean that people that play RPGs want to see that loot drop. They want to get that new piece of gear. They want to have that new item that they say, fuck yes, I have this new item, now I'm going to progress. And it's so weird to me that people assume that, like, oh, well, because you don't need this to succeed, that people shouldn't want it. No, man. So many people want those really cool items. Yeah, personal checkpoints, like personal goals. Yeah, so many people want that. Now, look at, like, Classic WoW, for example. Like, Classic WoW, so many people cared about just getting that blue item, just getting that epic item. And did they need those things? No, they didn't need those things. But they wanted them so much because that's what the game is about. That's the whole point of it, yeah.
And see what we can make happen there. So, very excited about that.
Yeah.
People always ask me, like, about Final Fantasy XIV. Look, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to jump into another MMO right now. Like, I've got
Smart.
New World coming, and I'm gonna like check New World out. But I don't, as I said in my coverage of that game, I don't think it's gonna last more than 2, 3, 4 weeks.
And then the hype will die off that. Come on, 5 or 6 weeks.
All new MMOs suffer from this problem of having this longevity issue, and its endgame doesn't look particularly good, but the journey's going to be fine, and I'm fine to go on that journey.
Yeah,
when it comes to Final Fantasy
World,
XIV, honestly, I'm just not
really
ready to jump into that kind of commitment right now. I am so happy with these games that we're covering right now, which are like 4 or 5 days worth of gameplay that is absolutely immensely fun.
The problem with New World is, like, there's no apex accomplishments in New World. Like, you get the gear, and the gear is very accessible. Like, you look at, like, a lot of the streams. I remember watching Josh OG. Like, Josh OG basically had best in slot or close to best in slot gear after playing the beta for a couple of weeks. Like, yes, obviously he's playing way more than everybody else. 100% he is. However, that doesn't make a difference whenever you're looking at how many other people are going to be playing that much proportionally.
Cool, super interesting.
Yeah,
and then we move on to the next thing. that's really satiating a need that I love, that I've not had for a while, because it's been like World of Warcraft every single day. So I'm taking a break from that before we jump into something like that. I'm not saying never to Final Fantasy XIV. Not doing that. But right now, it's not.
It'd be cool to see Preach play it. That would be badass.
To MMO, because I've been talking about that stuff for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So taking that break has been fantastic. But I just want to say, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, is although not many of you are watching SideQuest right now, and it's building, which is great. It's like it's doing what it's supposed to do. And it will be bringing in a new audience. I just want to say, for those of you who are like
analyzing a fight,
that video compared to our WoW stuff, we might get a video with like 150,000 views on World of Warcraft, but you might get 2, 3K likes. We're seeing videos with like 10K views with like 2K likes. Like, thank you so much.
Higher engagement on like likes and viewer engagement is important. Like, obviously it's important to keep hitting big numbers occasionally, and you should want to do that. And the worst thing that I think a lot of content creators can do is that they will transition completely away from like what their original game was, and then after a while people get tired of watching the new game, and then they can't go back to the old game. And this is kind of what happened whenever I first started doing variety streaming in 2018, where I just went and I did one new game after another new game after another new game, and I indirectly like conditioned my chat into just disliking World of Warcraft, and that just made it harder for me to be able to go back and play the game. And it just sucked. Yeah, it just absolutely fucking sucked. And nowadays, like, it's hard not to do that because of like all the other like external stuff, like the lawsuit, the patch cycles, etc. So it's very hard to actually go in and talk about those things, but and really act like that's my fault. But before it was. Esports says you're quitting Twitch. That's crazy.
And now we're getting this attention, and we're speaking the team internally.
Damn,
like,
that's crazy.
Nups, who works on our team, is just constantly now in talks with people for really cool projects that you guys are going to find out over the times, because people are like, hey, let's talk, let's do some stuff. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it. So you'll see more about that coming up, as well as our September event I'll be letting you know about in a couple of days, that we've been planning since like January. Hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you so much for listening, guys. Love you all. Thank you so much for the support. I can't express to you enough how happy I feel.
Yeah, it's been great
right now. You guys are awesome. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Absolutely.